Okay, here's my seed starting area. Here we have about a week and a half's growth. Everything is doing really good. The only thing that's taking a little longer is some of my peppers and a few other plants, but everything else is really sprouted really well. All this sprouting that you see over here to the right, that happened in like a week's time. This is a week and a half now. Now, I initially started this like 4 weeks ago. I had used the Burpee seed starting system, and I used a heating pad. Well, I didn't get the results I wanted out of that, and they weren't sprouting, and we had a really warm day, which was unusual for us, and I stuck the Burpee unit out in my little mini greenhouse. Well, I think it got too hot, it baked the seeds, and it actually caused some kind of mold or fungus to grow up on top of the dirt, and it didn't do well. So what I did is I went out and I got myself a professional heating pad that is specifically for growing plants at a hydroponic store. If you see, it has a rack, and then in between the rack is your heating mat, and that keeps your plants at just the right distance. Then I also got a controller unit, and what this controller unit does is right here, down here, you can see right here, this is the heating mat's plug. It plugs into the thermostat, and then the thermostat, it plugs here into this unit here, your extension cord. It has a place for power, lets you know it's on, and it has a heater light. When the heater's on, the light's on, of course. It also has a thermostat setting, and what I did is I set it at 85 because I was told that you always want it 5 degrees higher than the ideal for your plants. Okay, so that made a big difference and was really worth it. The other thing I did is I got some Jiffy seed starting mix, and the second time around I learned what I really needed to do was get it nice and wet and then put it into the individual pots. What I prefer doing with these pots, and why I like this better than the Burpee system, you can't do the rotation that I've done here. But here it's nice because I can rotate it from left to right, and different ones might be ready to go outside sooner than the other ones. So I really prefer this system much better. Each one of these lift up, and you've got a reservoir down there, if you can see down there, and each morning I fill these with water if they need it. If they don't need it, I don't give them water. What I am using though is I use a bucket of rainwater. Here in Oregon we get tons of rain, so I've got a couple of buckets outside, and I just let those fill up with water, and I use rainwater. I had a guy from the hydroponic store tell me, well, you still need to test the pH on those, and my attitude was God knows what he's doing, so I'm gonna rely on rainwater to be just fine for me. Another thing that I did just to make life a little easier on me, if you can see right here, I made labels. Let me know when I planted it, what it is. That way I don't have to worry about the stakes, putting individual stakes in each one right now, and that the stakes won't be up so high that they're going to be in the way of the lights. If I put the stakes in too low, I wouldn't be able to read them at all. They'd be covered. So I found it just better to make the labels and everything. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is, if you notice here, I've got 3 little stems coming up in this plant, and I found this system worked so great for me that every single seed I put in the soilless soil, it just germinated. It did great, except for maybe some of the big ones. If you see that big one back there, I put multiple seeds in there, and it looks like only one came up, but all the big ones were that way. But the little ones, like the tomatoes and some of the other plants and things like that, they came up with multiple shoots. So anything that I wanted 2 plants of, I actually planted 3 pots. Anything I only wanted 1 of, I actually planted 2 pots. So what I'm going to do is the extra pot, I'm actually going to do something that I read on the internet. Take a fork, lift it up, and take the individual plants out as carefully as possible. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to transplant them into these pots here on the edge that have nothing, because I found that the center lights were best, so I tried to move all the plants in the center. And see if I can salvage those other plants rather than pruning them. I know a lot of people, they let it grow a certain height and then they cut them back because if you let them grow too high, their roots will connect and then you'll damage both plants. So I'm hoping it's only been a week and a half, so I'm hoping their roots aren't connected. But I will say, looking over here, let me lift this squash, and if you see here, it may be kind of hard to see. I'm trying to see on the camera. It already has roots coming out of the bottom. I mean, it's doing great for a week and a half. So hopefully that my little experiment here will work. I'll let you know what happens. And maybe if you have the same problem I do and you do it early enough, we may be able to actually salvage our plants and not sacrifice so many of them. I know next time that I do this, one of the things that I'm going to do different here is I'm going to put actually one seed per pot and see what the result is, because like I said, where I put 3 or 4 seeds in, I'm getting 3 or 4 plants shooting up. So maybe make my seeds stretch really far. So alrighty, on to the next.